On winter's first night, Ravenhall Manor hosted a private gathering. Outside, heavy snow buried the road and silenced the forest. Inside, 12 guests dined beneath chandeliers and ancestral portraits. Their host, Dr. Julian Harrow, was a brilliant, feared botanist. He promised to reveal a discovery worth an enormous fortune. Before midnight, Harrow left dinner and entered his glass conservatory. He ordered servants to lock the outer hall behind him. Minutes later, a terrible scream shattered the ballroom music. The guests rushed over and found the conservatory doors locked. Through glass, they watched Harrow collapse beside the white orchid. They broke the doors open, but Harrow was already dead. His face was pale, with one hand clutching his throat. An overturned chair lay beside tables covered in laboratory notes. A shattered silver watch rested near his polished black shoes. Thick frost sealed every conservatory window from the inside. Outside, untouched snow surrounded every wall without footprints. No weapon, intruder, or hidden passage appeared anywhere inside. Detective Mara Voss arrived before the blizzard closed the road. The room smelled of damp soil, smoke, and sweet perfume. At first, Harrow's death seemed to be caused by poison. Yet no glass, needle, powder, or poisoned food remained. Only the white orchid stood untouched beneath a brass lamp. Voss crouched beside Harrow and examined his broken pocket watch. Its hands had stopped at precisely 11:43. Yet its dry, clean mechanism was still working perfectly. Someone stopped the hands, then deliberately smashed the glass. Therefore, the apparent time of death had been staged. Voss noticed a thin burn circling Harrow's right wrist. Nearby, a copper watering pipe vanished beneath the floor. The pipe connected every flower bed to the central boiler. Normally, warm vapor protected the conservatory's delicate tropical plants. That night, however, the pipe felt cold through her glove. Someone had disabled the heating shortly before Harrow's murder. Voss questioned everyone inside Ravenhall's dark wood-paneled library. Lady Evelyn, Harrow's sister, admitted fearing his announcement. She believed Julian planned to sell their family estate immediately. Professor Crane insisted their valuable research belonged equally to him. Thomas, the young gardener, said Harrow threatened to dismiss him. The housekeeper confessed several keys had disappeared that afternoon. One guest remained unnaturally calm through every uncomfortable question. She was Clara Bell, Harrow's quiet personal assistant. Clara claimed she spent the evening copying letters upstairs. Voss trusted calm witnesses less than visibly frightened ones. She returned alone and inspected every label in the conservatory. One label beneath the white orchid had been recently replaced. Its handwriting was neat, but the scientific name was wrong. Expert botanist Harrow would never make such a simple mistake. Beneath the false label, Voss discovered a narrow metal switch. It controlled a hidden cabinet inside the flower stand. Crane explained Harrow used the cabinet during private presentations. It released warm mist around rare plants for dramatic effect. Yet police found the cabinet's mist reservoir completely empty. On its brass nozzle, Voss discovered faint crystalline residue. It carried the same sweet scent lingering throughout the room. The substance was vaporized plant toxin, not ordinary perfume. Heated into mist, it attacked the lungs within seconds. Harrow had unknowingly activated the hidden device himself. The killer never needed to enter the locked conservatory. Someone had filled the hidden reservoir before dinner began. Then they replaced the orchid label, concealing the control switch. When Harrow pressed it, the cabinet released deadly vapor. Yet one question remained: why were the copper pipes cold? The answer waited beneath the conservatory, inside the boiler room. Normally, the heating system created powerful upward air currents. Those currents carried dangerous vapor harmlessly toward the roof vents. Shutting down the boiler kept the poisonous mist low. It gathered around Harrow as he leaned over the orchid. The sealed glass walls trapped the toxin completely around him. Voss searched the boiler room for signs of recent activity. A fresh black oil stain marked the main control wheel. Nearby, dark blue wool thread clung to a rough bolt. Evelyn wore red, Crane gray, and Thomas wore brown. Only Clara had arrived wearing a dark blue wool coat. Voss wondered how Clara entered the restricted boiler room. The housekeeper's missing keys supplied the next crucial clue. One returned key carried soft white wax within its grooves. Someone had pressed it into wax, creating an exact copy. Police searched Clara's desk and found unused ceiling candles. One candle showed the impression of a long iron key. Clara copied the boiler key without permanently taking it. Still, she argued that many servants used sealing wax daily. Her confidence held until Voss revealed the shattered watch. Clara's eyes moved toward the clock before she could stop. The watch marked Clara's planned alibi, not Harrow's death. At 11:43, a maid supposedly visited Clara upstairs. The maid remembered visiting, but could not confirm the minute. Clara had stopped Harrow's watch to create a false timeline. She wanted everyone believing Harrow died while she was upstairs. In truth, the poison trap was prepared hours earlier. Clara's location during Harrow's death proved absolutely nothing. Voss unfolded financial letters discovered inside Harrow's locked desk. They proved Clara helped create his most valuable formula. Harrow planned to claim it and dismiss her unpaid. He also intended to destroy every record of her contribution. Clara had worked silently for years behind Harrow's celebrated name. Humiliation and anger gradually hardened into calculated revenge. Before dinner, Clara copied the key and entered the basement. She disabled the heating and filled the reservoir with toxin. Then she replaced the orchid label and awaited Harrow's demonstration. His pride would make him press the hidden switch. She knew locked doors would suggest an impossible outside killer. The staged watch was meant to complete her perfect defense, but the wrong flower name exposed the replacement label. Cold pipes revealed the heating system's deliberate shutdown. Crystalline residue proved poison, traveled through the hidden mist device. The copied key, blue thread, and wax identified Clara. Before everyone, Voss calmly reconstructed each step of the crime. Clara listened silently while snow struck the library windows. Her controlled confidence slowly collapsed into exhausted, silent defeat. She admitted the plan but refused to call it madness. Police escorted Clara across.
That night, a violent storm swallowed the isolated Blackwood Manor. Rain hammered the windows while thunder shook its ancient stone walls. Inside, pale yellow lamps barely touched the endless shadowed corridors. Then a strange crash echoed from the master's private study.
A frightened maid hurried toward the sound and tried the door. It would not move because it was locked from the inside. She called the others, and together they forced the heavy door. What waited beyond it silenced every person in the hallway.
The master sat motionless beside his desk, already dead. Loose papers covered the carpet like fragments of a broken secret. A drinking glass lay overturned near one trembling hand. Beside the chair, a large pool of water reflected the firelight. A tiny wound marked the center of the victim's chest.
It was small, clean, and deep enough to kill instantly. Yet no knife, needle, or weapon could be found anywhere. The study door remained locked, and the windows were firmly sealed. Even the room's only key was lying inside the study. A murder had occurred where no murderer could possibly enter.
Before midnight, Detective Elias Ward arrived through the pouring rain. He removed his wet coat and silently studied every frightened face. Unlike the others, he did not begin with the body. His attention settled first on the mysterious water beside the chair.
The overturned glass could not have held such a large amount. Rainwater was impossible because the window frame remained completely dry. Therefore, the water had appeared after the room was locked. Detective Ward knelt beside the victim and examined the clothing.
The hole in the shirt was narrow, smooth, and unusually precise. Something sharp had pierced straight through cloth, flesh, and bone. But the weapon itself had vanished without leaving a single fragment. How could a
The
killer
woman in
remove it
red
from a
admitted
sealed
arguing
room?
with the victim earlier.
That question turned every
She
witness
claimed
into a
she left the
possible
study
suspect.
long before the fatal moment. An older man confessed that money had damaged their friendship. Other relatives insisted they remained inside their bedrooms during the storm.
The maid said she only delivered tea before hearing the crash. One young man, however, could barely control his nervous breathing. He avoided the detective's eyes and answered every question too quickly. His name was Adrian Vale, the victim's troubled young nephew.
Each witness offered an explanation that sounded reasonable on its own, but the detectives sensed that everyone was hiding something important. The master had recently changed several legal and financial documents. Names were crossed out, signatures replaced, and payments suddenly canceled.
Someone inside the manor was about to lose everything. More than one person had wished the master permanently silent. Detective Ward returned to the study and closed the door. He inspected the lock, the hinges, and every wooden panel. No wire had turned the key from outside the room.
No hidden passage waited behind the bookshelves or painted walls. The windows had not opened, and the chimney was far too narrow. Then the detective slowly raised his eyes toward the ceiling. Above the chair was a square iron ventilation grill.
The victim's position stood almost perfectly beneath that dark opening. For the first time, the impossible murder gained a possible direction. Ward requested the manor's original architectural plans from the basement. The ventilation shaft connected the study to an unused upper service area.
A narrow storage loft ran directly above the locked room. Near that loft, investigators discovered an old wooden ladder. Most of its steps carried a thick blanket of undisturbed dust, but several marks had been freshly rubbed by hands and shoes.
Someone had climbed that ladder during the night of the murder.
The dust near the ventilation cover had also been recently disturbed. A faint shoe pattern appeared beside the edge of the shaft. Detective Ward removed the grill and searched the dark passage. Deep inside, cold drops of water clung to the metal. They were too clean and too cold to be storm water.
Scratches showed the grill had been opened, then quickly replaced. Now the water, the wound, and the ceiling became connected. But one final question remained. What had traveled through the shaft? The detective searched the kitchen, laundry room, and servants' hall.
Inside the freezer, he found a strangely shaped empty mold. It was long, narrow, and pointed like a deadly spike. Fresh frost proved that something had recently been frozen inside it. In the laundry room, damp clothing had been hidden beneath towels.
No one admitted wearing those clothes outside during the storm, yet the fabric carried cold moisture and gray ventilation dust. The stains perfectly matched the residue inside the upper shaft. Then Ward examined Adrian Vale's shoes beside the fireplace.
Their soles carried the same pattern found on the dusty ladder. At last, every separate clue formed one complete and terrible method. The murder weapon had never been removed from the locked room. It had simply destroyed itself after completing its deadly purpose.
Adrian had created a sharp spike entirely from frozen water. He kept it hidden inside the freezer until the final moment. Every evening, the master worked beneath the same ventilation opening. He also locked the study door to protect his private documents.
Adrian understood that habit and turned it into the perfect trap. During the thunder, he carried the ladder into the upper loft. The storm concealed every footstep, scrape, and movement above the room. He opened the grill and lowered the frozen spike into position.
From the shaft, he struck without ever entering the study.
The weapon pierced the victim's chest and caused immediate death. Adrian withdrew his tools, replaced the grill, and hid the ladder. He believed the locked door would make the crime supernatural. But he had forgotten the blazing fireplace beside the victim.
Heat slowly melted the weapon after it fell into the room. The ice became water and gathered beside the dead man's chair. That explained the missing weapon and the strangely clean wound. It also explained why the pool was larger than the glass.
Before the household, Detective Ward reconstructed the entire impossible crime. He showed them the locked door, sealed windows, and ceiling grill. He revealed the disturbed ladder, the freezer mold, and damp clothing. He placed Adrian's shoe beside the matching print in the dust.
Together, they created only one path, leading directly to Adrian. The young man's face drained of color as the truth emerged.
The altered documents proved his inheritance was about to disappear. The master had threatened to expose debts Adrian could never repay.
Anger, fear, and desperation had shaped his cold-blooded plan. He trusted melting ice to erase every trace of the weapon. He never imagined that melted water would become the strongest evidence. Confronted with the dust, shoes, clothing, and freezer, Adrian surrendered.
Police led him from the manor before the storm had ended. The remaining guests watched in silence, shocked by his hidden hatred. Near dawn, the rain weakened and the clouds began to separate. Detective Ward stepped outside as sunlight touched the ancient roof.
Behind him, the locked room no longer held any mystery. No ghost had crossed the walls, and no magic erased the weapon. There had only been careful planning, frozen steel like ice and heat. A deadly spike had vanished, but its water remained behind.
And sometimes, what disappears becomes the clearest evidence of all.